Let's start it with our first news. UFC heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall has become one of the most respected names in mixed martial arts, not only for his skill set but also for his humility and loyalty. Known for his lightning-fast hands, devastating knockout power, and high-level grappling, the 32-year-old British star has shown all the qualities of a dominant, long-reigning champion. Yet, in a surprising and heartfelt revelation, Aspinall recently admitted that he might be willing to vacate his UFC heavyweight title if it ever meant avoiding a fight with his close friend and training partner, Ante Delija. During a recent appearance on a podcast, Aspinall opened up about the possibility of facing Delija, who recently joined the UFC and made a stunning debut by defeating Marcin Tybura, a top 10 ranked contender. The win instantly placed Delija among the heavyweight elite and potentially on a collision course with the champion himself. When asked if he would ever fight his friend for the belt, Aspinall didn't hesitate to give an emotional and honorable answer. "My friend and training partner just got into the UFC, and he just beat a guy in the top 10, Aspinall said. "So he's potentially just 2 or 3 wins away from a title shot. If I'd never won a title before, if I had never touched gold, I'd have to fight him, because that was my dream. But now that I've done it, I'd vacate and let him have his time. I wouldn't fight him. No chance." The English champion emphasized that his friendship with Delija goes far beyond the walls of the gym. "I've got guys who I train with, and then I've got genuine friends. He's one of my real friends. There are things in life that mean more to me than money and titles," Aspinall explained. This statement reveals a lot about Aspinall's character, a man who values loyalty and personal relationships over fame and fortune. It also highlights how grounded he remains despite holding one of the most prestigious titles in combat sports. Of course, several steps still need to occur before a potential title fight between Aspinall and Delija could even be discussed. Delija, now ranked 9th in the heavyweight division, must continue to win against elite competition to earn a shot at the belt. Meanwhile, Aspinall is focused on defending his title against Cyril Gane at UFC 321, set for October 25th. In the same podcast appearance, Aspinall also made headlines by humbly admitting that he doesn't think he could have beaten a prime Daniel Cormier. "Pete DC has the worst style for me ever," he said. "I've told him that to his face. He's short, constantly moving forward, mixing punches with takedowns. He can knock you out, take you down, and he's got cardio for days. For my style, he's a nightmare." Pete DC was unreal. Aspinall's honesty and self-awareness only further solidify his reputation as one of the most respected fighters in the sport. As he continues his journey as the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion, his loyalty to friends and his humility in victory make him not just a great athlete but a true role model for fighters around the world. With UFC 321 fast approaching, the heavyweight division eagerly awaits to see if Tom Aspinall can continue his reign. But one thing's for sure, win or lose, he's already proven himself a champion in more ways than one. Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. UFC lightweight contender Dariush has made a surprising prediction ahead of one of the most highly anticipated fights of the year, Islam Makhachev vs Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 322, set to take place on November 15th at Madison Square Garden. Despite Makhachev being widely regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, Dariush believes that this time, the odds might be stacked against him. The veteran fighter is now leaning toward Jack Della Maddalena, JDM, to emerge victorious and retain his welterweight title. As UFC 322 approaches, the anticipation continues to build. Makhachev, the dominant lightweight champion, is moving up to the 170-pound welterweight division in pursuit of becoming a 2-division champion, a feat that would elevate his legacy to historic levels. However, even with his elite grappling, suffocating control, and ever-improving striking, some fighters and analysts are beginning to question whether Makhachev's strength and skill set will translate successfully against naturally larger opponents. Speaking in a recent interview with Helen Yee, Dariush revealed that while he initially favored Makhachev, his opinion has since changed. "I'm leaning now towards JDM," Dariush admitted. "I feel like the size will make the difference, cardio-wise too. JDM has great cardio. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. This is all feel. This is one of those fights where I can't really give you a clear answer. But right now, I just think JDM will win it." Dariush's comments reflect a growing sentiment within parts of the MMA community that Jack Della Maddalena's size, endurance, and striking pressure could prove too much for Makhachev to handle in his debut at welterweight. JDM, who captured the welterweight belt earlier this year, has quickly become one of the sport's most exciting fighters. Known for his sharp boxing, relentless forward pressure, and composure under fire, the Australian star has dismantled several top contenders in dominant fashion. While he enters UFC 322 as an underdog, his recent performances, particularly against elite wrestlers, have turned heads. Many expected Belal Muhammad's wrestling and top control to neutralize JDM in their last meeting, but Della Maddalena proved otherwise, defending takedowns effectively and overwhelming Muhammad with his striking volume. Now, with Makhachev stepping into the cage against a much larger and equally technical potential opponent, questions remain about how his grappling heavy style will adapt. Dariush, who has shared the octagon with Makhachev and understands his strengths firsthand, knows how dangerous the Dagestani champion can be, but he also recognizes the potential pitfalls of moving up in weight against a naturally bigger, well-rounded striker.
Islam is one of the greatest fighters of this generation, Dariush said.
But sometimes, the size and pace can make all the difference.
That's why I'm leaning JDM.
As UFC 322 draws closer, this matchup continues to divide fans and fighters alike.
Can Makhachev conquer another division and solidify his legacy as one of the all-time greats? Or will Jack Della Maddalena defend his throne and prove that power and precision can stop even the most dominant champion? Whatever the outcome, Beneil Dariush's bold prediction adds another layer of intrigue to a fight that promises to deliver fireworks inside Madison Square Garden. Move on to another news.
Rising UFC star Paddy Pimblett has quickly become one of the most talked about fighters in mixed martial arts, not only for his skills inside the octagon but also for his charisma, confidence, and larger-than-life personality outside of it. His ability to entertain fans has drawn comparisons to some of the sport's biggest names, and now, even Ronda Rousey, one of the most iconic fighters in UFC history, has publicly praised him for understanding what it truly takes to be a star. During a recent appearance at New York Comic-Con, Rousey was asked about what separates fighters who become global superstars from those who remain known only to hardcore fans. The former UFC women's bantamweight champion, who helped propel women's MMA into the mainstream, shared her perspective on the importance of showmanship, marketability, and connecting with audiences beyond the fight world.
That's what I think really matters, that you can make people know who you are, even if they don't watch fighting, Rousey explained. It's about understanding that being an entertainer is part of the job. A lot of fighters today forget that.
But one person who really does get it is Paddy Pimblett. Coming from someone like Rousey, whose meteoric rise changed the face of the UFC forever, this kind of praise carries weight. Rousey's influence extended far beyond her fights. She was a crossover star in movies, television, and pop culture. Her recognition of Pimblett as someone who embodies that same spirit shows just how far the young Liverpudlian has come in a short time.
When Pimblett got wind of Rousey's remarks, he didn't hesitate to respond with gratitude and respect. Taking to social media, he wrote, "Thank you very much, Ronda Rousey. It means a lot coming from a UFC legend."
The exchange between the two fighters highlights the growing acknowledgement of Pimblett's impact on the sport. Even before signing with the UFC, Paddy was already a major name in the UK MMA scene. His flamboyant walkouts, passionate post-fight speeches, and infectious energy made him a fan favorite long before he ever stepped inside the octagon under the UFC banner. Once he did, his performances, marked by explosive finishes and high-octane energy, solidified his reputation as both an exciting fighter and a captivating entertainer. Now, Pimblett stands on the verge of breaking into superstardom. Rumors have circulated that he could soon face Ilia Topuria, who recently became the UFC lightweight champion. A fight between the two would not only be massive from a competitive standpoint but also from an entertainment perspective, two of Europe's biggest personalities colliding inside the cage. Rousey's comments also underline a broader truth about the modern fight game. Talent alone is not enough. Fighters today must connect with audiences, create moments, and build personas that capture fans' imaginations, something Paddy Pimblett has mastered effortlessly. While he may not yet be a household name in North America, his growing popularity, combined with the endorsement of legends like Ronda Rousey, suggests it's only a matter of time before Paddy becomes one of the UFC's most bankable stars. For now, Pimblett continues to train, entertain, and expand his brand, proving that charisma, confidence, and authenticity remain as powerful as any punch or submission inside the octagon.
Move on to another news. UFC President Dana White has once again shaken up the MMA world with a massive announcement. Earlier today, the UFC teased fans on social media with a post reading, "Dana White will be live on Instagram later today to make an announcement." Speculation ran wild across the internet, and when Dana finally went live, he did not disappoint.
White officially confirmed that UFC 323 will take place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on December 6, headlined by a blockbuster bantamweight title fight between the reigning champion Merab Dvalishvili and former champion Petr Yan. The event will also feature multiple high-profile bouts, including a flyweight title defense and the return of several fan favorites. Dana began the announcement by revealing that Dvalishvili, currently ranked number 3 in the UFC pound-for-pound rankings, will make a historic fourth title defense in under a year, setting an unprecedented pace for championship activity. Merab came into the office right after his last title defense at UFC 320, White explained. "He told us how important it was for him to break the record for the most title defenses in a single year. He's already on a 14-fight win streak, and with this next fight, he's looking to make history."
Dvalishvili has built his legacy on relentless pressure, unmatched cardio, and a wrestling-heavy style that has overwhelmed nearly every opponent he's faced.
He already holds multiple UFC records, including the most takedowns landed in UFC history and the most bantamweight wins, and a victory over Petr Yan would move him into second place all-time for longest winning streak in UFC history.
Dana White praised Dvalishvili's warrior mentality and competitive competitive drive. You've got to respect the hell out of Merab, Dana said. He wants to push himself and make history. I love that. That's what this sport is all about. But standing in Merab's way is none other than Petr Yan, the former UFC bantamweight champion and one of the most dangerous strikers in the division. Known for his technical precision, composure, and brutal counterstriking, Yan has long been considered one of the most complete fighters in MMA. White called him an absolute savage and promised fans a high-stakes, high-action main event. The co-main event of UFC 323 will feature Alexander Pantoja, the reigning flyweight champion, defending his belt against the surging Josh Van, the #1 contender. Pantoja enters the bout riding an 8-fight win streak, boasting the most finishes and victories in UFC flyweight history. Meanwhile, Josh Van has been a revelation, earning his title shot after a string of dominant performances, including a Fight of the Year contender against Brandon Royval. Van already holds flyweight records for most strikes landed per minute and best striking differential, making him one of the most exciting fighters in the division. Simply put, Josh Van is all action, all the time, Dana said. This fight's going to be fireworks. The stacked UFC 323 card will also include a light heavyweight clash between Jan Blachowicz and Bogdan Gusev, as well as a must-watch bout between former two-division champion Henry Cejudo and rising contender Peyton Talbot. With multiple title fights, legends returning, and hungry contenders ready to make statements, UFC 323 is shaping up to be one of the most action-packed events of the year. Dana White closed the announcement by saying exactly what fans were thinking. This card is stacked from top to bottom, you're not going to want to miss it. Move on to another news. Moments after Dana White went live on Instagram to announce the UFC 323 main event, Merab Dvalishvili was caught completely off guard, and his raw, emotional reaction quickly went viral. During a live interview, the reigning UFC bantamweight champion learned in real time that he had been officially booked to defend his title against former champion Petr Yan in the main event of UFC 323, set for December 6th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. As the interviewer broke the news, Merab's expression shifted from confusion to pure excitement. "Wait, what?" Merab exclaimed, visibly stunned. "Let's dance, my friend. Let's dance. Woo!" The Georgian champion then laughed and raised his arms in celebration, clearly thrilled about the announcement. His reaction embodied everything fans love about him: raw emotion, humility, and a deep love for competition. For weeks, rumors had circulated that Dvalishvili's next fight was in the works, but few expected the official confirmation to drop so suddenly. Merab had just defended his title at UFC 320, and many assumed he would take time off before returning to the octagon. However, as Dana White revealed earlier in the day, Dvalishvili personally requested a quick turnaround, motivated by his goal of breaking the record for most title defenses in a single year. When asked if he knew the fight had been finalized, Merab admitted that he had no idea. "They just told me right now," he said with a smile. He, Dana White, said he would try his best to make it happen, but I didn't know it was official. Wow. They told me Petr had some visa issues, so I wasn't sure. The matchup between Merab Dvalishvili and Petr Yan has long been one of the most anticipated fights in the bantamweight division. The two men have a history of tension and near encounters inside the top rankings, but the timing never worked out until now. Yan, a former UFC champion, remains one of the most technically gifted strikers in MMA. His combination of precision, pressure, and composure has made him a dangerous opponent for anyone at 135 pounds. Meanwhile, Dvalishvili has earned his place at the top through relentless pace and world-class wrestling. Riding a 14-fight win streak, he has beaten some of the best bantamweights in the world and now looks to make an unprecedented fourth title defense within a single calendar year, a feat that would set a new UFC record. Fans immediately took to social media to react to Merab's live moment, praising his authenticity and excitement. One viewer commented, "This is why fans love Merab, he's always so real and full of energy." Another wrote, "That let's dance moment is going to be replayed all week." For Merab, the upcoming fight represents more than just another defense, it's another chance to make history. His emotional reaction showed not only how much he loves the sport but also how deeply he respects the challenge ahead. "This is what I live for," Merab said after the broadcast ended. "It's not just about the title, it's about testing myself against the best. Petr Yan is a great fighter, and I'm ready to go to war. Let's make history." With that, Merab Dvalishvili vs Petr Yan at UFC 323 is officially set, and if Merab's live reaction is any indication, fans can expect fireworks when the cage door closes in Las Vegas this December.